Quick disclaimer. I'm going off of memory when I do this, so you're going to hear a lot of things that do not sound certain. That is why. Two, I have not fully read the Bible, so anything I say from here on, if it also sounds half-assed or like I don't know what I'm talking about, that's because I'm going off of memory with that also. With that out of the way, I think I'll begin. There are a bunch of things that have been allegedly not put into the Bible, or when they were making the first whatever of what will become the New Testament, there were certain things they opted not to add to it or whatever. And then you will also hear stories of things that were made after the Bible was published. One of these is a story I found kind of interesting. It was called the Serpent seed theory. Now, this theory is kind of fucked up. I'm not going to lie. I find it very, very, very fucked up. And there are not enough words in the dictionary or time of the day to describe how fucked up I find this theory. But basically, the idea is while Adam and Eve were still in the garden, while Adam was asleep, Eve was lured away from him. And you know how they say the devil tempted Eve to eat a fruit? Well, this time he tempted her with his fruit. Let's put it that way. And she became pregnant. You can guess who she gave birth to. And this kind of fucked up story is also kind of fucked up because it gives you a lot of weird interpretations about it. I mean, because I tried to find the original version of this claim or story and I could never find it. If you can find it, send me a link. I would like to read it for myself. But it's never stated if what happened to Eve was consensual or if he forced himself on her. But I can find either plausible because I would assume this is post Apple eating Eve, so she could be likely to have done this maybe because before, not so much, but before she was probably more free will and assertive, if we're going off Paradise Lost version. And so but I can also see it being a case of where she didn't consent to it because it's the devil. The devil hates Adam. He hates humanity. He would probably have no problem violating a woman who belongs to that species because he does not recognize that person as having rights and is lucky enough that he doesn't kill them. But what I find interesting about this story also is the way it makes you kind of have a perspective of Adam and God. Now, by that I mean, I don't think it's ever said if God did anything to Cain as a result of this being here, because he had to have been aware this was happening. I mean, it's God. God knows everything. Like, a fly farts in New Jersey, and God knows about it. Let's put it that way. So he knew. He didn't do anything. And this is God. Like, from some stories I've heard from the Bible, God has had no problem ordering the massacres of men, women, and children, just so they wouldn't be a pain down the line. He didn't do this with Cain. He gave Cain the benefit of the doubt. So, in a weird way, this story kind of makes me like God a little bit because I doubt it's true, but I do like the way it does present God as being like fairer with Cain. Hell, in some ways, you could also say Adam was fair with Cain because it's never said as far as I know, if Adam was ever aware that Cain wasn't really his son. I don't know if it was ever stressed if he knew that or not. Because regardless, he raised Cain as if he was his own son. So either he was ignorant or he was aware and he did not give a shit. As far as he was concerned, he was his son, no one else's. Because Adam, as far as I can ever tell, he's never struck me as a very petty guy. Well, post-Apple, him was a little petty if you're going off of Paradise Lost. But he never struck me as so petty that he would kill an infant. So it's a case of maybe he wasn't aware, but if he was, he still chose to rise above it and be the better man. Because he did still raise Cain like he was his own son. He tried to help him survive in the world they now lived in outside the garden. So, yeah, what's fucked up about this story, though, is not just the context of it, it's also why it was made, because the story behind the serpent seed theory is it was used to demonize a particular kind of people. And I don't mean like a racial group or an ethnic group. It was used to demonize, I believe, people who use technology or a certain type of technology. Again, this is all like going off of memory. And I tried finding the story, original one, for myself to read it. I could never find it. And again, if you can find a link to where I can read it for myself, please send it because I would like to read it personally, just to get the full context. But it's weird, and it's also weird. The story is also kind of fucked up because, well, it shows two different bloodlines of the human race. There's one bloodline that's descended from Adam, and there's one bloodline that's descended from Eve and the devil. This also might explain, at least in this scenario, why humanity has such a wickedness to it. Because as far as I know, humanity wasn't born wicked. It was only after it ate the apple, and then that was a possibility. And then Cain was born. He came around, invented murder and fratricide, and then it became even more potential. But in this version, it gives the impression of, oh yeah, no, humans, oh yeah, they had no problem doing these horrible things because what'd you expect? They're descended from one of the most evil things in all of creation. The most spiteful, vindictive, arrogant, prideful asshole under the sun spawned their first bloodline member. Yeah, why wouldn't humanity be the way? So I do find that kind of fucked up and interesting at the same time. I don't believe this is actually a canon story of the Bible. Even if it was, I still wouldn't believe it. I probably would not believe it on the grounds of why it was made. It was made to demonize people. It was propaganda at best. And that is the most generous term I can think of it. But there was that, and there's also weird stories about Cain and Abel that also go with this. Like the Book of Enoch has a story where after Abel died, there's a version of him in heaven calling out, cursing Cain, and asking for the eradication of him and all his descendants. So yeah, there's lots of weird stories that are not in the Bible. Like if you go to the Book of Enoch or some other texts, maybe the Hebrew stuff, you'll find lots of weird shit. So, but this is probably the weirder one for me because like the Book of Enoch is weird, but this one, I heard it, I was like, holy fuck, this is fucked up. Especially if it's a case of Eve was forced upon. Because if it was a case where she just went full Lilith, that's kind of fucked up. But the idea that she was violated and forced to give birth to her rapist baby, that's even more disturbing. Personally, I find that really disgusting. And I just wanted to put this video out to give my thoughts on this subject. It's called the Serpent Seed Theory for those of you who didn't hear it the first time. And yeah, look it up for yourself and come to your own conclusions. And again, if you find a copy of it where you could read the original text, please leave me a copy or a link of it in the comments section. I want to read it for myself because I still can't find one. Anyway, have a nice day, and remember the game was rigged from the start.